Quick question. How many of you out there are planners? You take the time to plan out your days and your weeks, your months, your years, and for some of you, even your lives. Well, the real truth is, in some capacity, we're all planners. We all make plans. Some of us make plans for things that are 3 months in the future, while others make plans for things that are 3 minutes in the future. No matter what level you find yourself as a planner, we all make them. We all are plan makers. But there's a phrase that you have probably become more and more familiar with over this past month. Change of plans. Or something of that kind. How many of you have had plans that you have had to change over the past month? Now think about that, and then how many of you have had to rechange said plans because you thought things like this were going to end a lot sooner than they did? It seems with every passing moment, every passing day, we learn more and more information about all of this that makes us look further and further into the future, further and further into our calendars for all those plans that we had made and how we're going to have to reschedule or change them.
At this moment, we just don't know what the future holds for many of our personal plans. We're having to reschedule and get creative and figure out alternatives. We're going to have to look continually months and months ahead to see what we can do to change the plans that we had initially. And at the same time, we don't know what the immediate future holds for many of our planned events that we had here at Scenic Hills. Obviously, we would love to be able to say sooner rather than later, but because of our present circumstances, we really don't know what the word sooner means. It's kind of relative at this point. And we're having to get creative in the way that we do things, the way that we connect with one another, the way that we communicate with our church and do things like this. Some of us are using online platforms to continue to have Bible studies and to remain connected with one another. Plans have changed. But that does not mean that plans have stopped for us by any means. And we want to encourage you to find any and every way that you can to remain connected with one another as a church, remain connected with one another as a family. Our plans are having to change, not because we want them to, and not because things are okay, because something is wrong. We are in the middle of a global pandemic, and regardless of what we all think about that and how we react about that, whether we're reacting too much or too little or whatever, we have to acknowledge that something has gone wrong. Because we want to ensure the safety not only of our church family, but also the people that our church family comes in contact with outside of our church. It's because of this that we want to provide the safest environment of all, and we are continuing to meet in our homes on Sundays and on Wednesdays and things like that. A lot of things are constantly changing as new information repeatedly comes out, and what at first we thought was a couple of weeks has turned into a couple of months. So we can't deny it. Our plans have changed, and it's better for all of us if we can readily admit that that is true and that things just aren't the way that they used to be and things just aren't the way that they should be. Because once we recognize that something is wrong, then we can actually look for what is making that wrong right again. The changing of plans because of different circumstances is nothing new to the human experience whatsoever. We have been experiencing the inconveniences of reality since the beginning. You may have heard the old saying, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. There's different variations of that saying, but it comes from an 18th century Scottish poem. And the basic point of that poem is that although we may individually make all these plans and we have all these things planned out of how we're going to do things, in the end, our plans are at the mercy of the circumstances that we find ourselves in and the circumstances of other people's plans that intersect with our own plans.
When it comes to the decisions and the choices that we make in relation to following God and being agents of His will on this earth, things can go wrong in a lot of different directions. But But one of, and probably the main reason that things do tend to go wrong in this is because, well, we're not looking at the right plan. Even people we read about in the scriptures found themselves in this same predicament. I mean, you think about it. When was the last time that you had something that you had planned out go exactly how it was supposed to? Every aspect of your plan played out perfectly from point A to point Z. This always makes me think of a quote from the TV show The Flash. Yes, that is a superhero reference. That is a comic book reference, and you're all very welcome for that. But one of the villains from that show, Captain Cold, is a master thief, and everything that he does revolves around planning out every situation. But he's got some funny rules when it comes to that. He says, when it comes to making plans, there's only 4 rules that you need to remember. Number 1, make the plan. Number 2, execute the plan. Number 3, expect the plan to go totally off the rails. And number 4, throw away the plan. This is the outlook that we all probably should have, because honestly, it's unreasonable for us to expect that every element of our plans are going to go exactly how they should. I don't say that to say that we shouldn't make plans at all, because that is what most people would call poor planning, and we don't need to be in the practice of poor planning. But if our plans don't play out as they should, well, it probably means that there was something wrong with the plan to begin with. Seeing that we are not perfect people, it's unreasonable for us to expect that we can be the creator of perfect plans. But there is just one perfect plan, and that one belongs to God. God is the creator of said plan. We wake up every day with the same choice, really. Am I going to live my life today for me, myself, and I, or am I going to live my life for God? And really the same question can be asked when it comes to living according to whose plan? Am I going to live my life according to my plan today? Or am I going to live and make every decision based on God's? The reality is, while our plans have a tendency to go off the rails, God's plan always manages to stay on track. Always. When we decide to make our own plans and move in a direction that we chose and that plan goes awry, it possibly means that we weren't looking at the right plan to begin with. It means that the plan that we laid out and intended to stick to was flawed from the very beginning. And it was most likely flawed because it didn't quite match up with the plan that God had laid out. It didn't quite match up with the plan that God had already put together. So again, we ask, do I follow God's plan or our own? We want to follow the better plan, right? I mean, it only makes sense to follow the plan that is going to be perfect above everything else. We need a plan that isn't flawed, and that one comes from God and God alone. Now, that doesn't mean that when we consciously choose to live according to God's plan, that we won't find ourselves in sticky situations, or that times won't be feeling like something has gone terribly wrong. If we are to understand that God's plan is perfect, it means that His plan will get us exactly where we need to be, always. The best part about His plan is that even when we decide to go with our own at times, and it goes horribly wrong, God's plan still has a way of getting us exactly where we need to be in spite of all that has gone wrong. It doesn't mean that there won't be messy moments in our lives. It doesn't mean that we won't endure trials and tribulations. God just has the best way of seeing to it that His will be done in spite of the circumstances that we find ourselves in. If we continue to live according to His plan, then His can work and continue to be done even through all of the mess.
So our new Wednesday night series is going to be called Change of Plans, because all of our plans have changed. And throughout this series that we're going to be doing on Wednesday nights, we're going to be highlighting and exploring moments in the story of God's people where it seems like things just don't go according to plan. We're going to be looking at a wide range of situations that God's people find themselves in, where because of circumstance or because of personal choices or even because of God's own intervention, things don't go the way that we would think that they should. Sometimes things don't go the way we think they should because something really is wrong. And sometimes our plans get changed because God has a much better plan, even if we can't see that or comprehend that in our own minds. You see, our overall goal in this series is twofold. First, we want to observe the how, the what, and the why of when things go wrong in the story of God's people. And then two, we want to spend time looking at how God is at work within the mess that's created because of that situation. We chose this idea because we want to leverage our current reality that we're living in. We're living through the first global pandemic of our lifetime. And we want to see what ways, based on God's interaction with his people in the past, we want to see in what ways God might be interacting with us even now. It's a mess out there. We're living in unprecedented times. None of us really know what we're supposed to be doing fully. We don't know what the future is really going to hold tomorrow. And we both know that there's probably a wide range of opinions throughout our own church about what we should be doing, about what our government should be doing, and about how we should be responding to this. But our aim for this series is to bring us through God's story, to bring us through the story of God's people, and to see how he was at work when plans changed for them, and how we can be encouraged by what happened in the past for the future that we face right now.
God is at work. He hasn't stopped being God, and he hasn't paused his work in this world. We believe in a God that has never been surprised by anything going wrong. God's not in heaven biting his fingernails, just waiting to see what happens next. Now, because of God's eternality, his omnipresence, and his omniscience, he doesn't see time the way that you and I do. He sees all, always, as difficult as it may be for us to wrap our heads around that. We are God's people. And as God's people, one of the things that we must acknowledge if we claim to be one of his, if we claim to believe in his word, is that although our plans have changed, that does not mean that God has changed. If we believe in his word, we have to recognize that even in the worst of times, when all of our plans might stop, God is still at work in the mess. In Romans 8, in verse 28, the Apostle Paul writes, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose." It's a well-known verse that people quote in times of uncertainty and difficulty, and rightfully so. When we look at all that comes before this passage, we see a more full picture of how God is fully aware of the mess that is creation and life. In verse 18, he writes, "For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. And not only the creation, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for adoption as sons, the redemption of our bodies. For in this hope we are saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And he who searches hearts knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. The fact that there is difficulty, suffering, and things going wrong in our lives is not breaking news to God. Paul acknowledges that when it comes to life in this present world, plans have definitely changed from the good and complete creation that God had completed in the beginning. Because in Genesis 3, it wasn't just human beings that were broken and fractured from sin, but even all of creation itself. Paul doesn't get bogged down in the undeniable reality that things are not right. Instead, he keeps an eternal, God-centered perspective, saying that the suffering we experience, it can't even be compared with what we have seen and what we have hope for.
According to Paul, it's not just us who notice that things aren't right in the world, because creation itself groans with us. And this might be weird for us to understand, but the whole universe, all of creation, exists right now in this progressive decay. Things are running down and things are breaking down. And that decay itself is the sign that there has been a change of plans. This isn't how it was supposed to be. It's this exasperated longing within us because of the breaking down of creation, because of the breaking down of our own selves, that produces the need for a hope of something more than this, something more than what we experience now. Within this longing that's brought on by our weaknesses and the decay that's around us here, God is here. God is there for all of us. His Spirit intercedes for us on behalf of us when the difficulties of life lay heavy on our hearts. God has not left us alone in the mess. He is with us in the middle of it, bringing our inward longings before God so that God can do what he wills in this world with us, not according to our will, but according to his will. It's within this greater context of this verse that Casey read that we know that God understands that things are not right. It's not a surprise to him. But even within all that is broken and wrong, God has been working and is continuing to work in real time over history to put things right again. And you and I are a part of this working all things together for good. That's the amazing thing about this passage. But even then, we still have to acknowledge what this does not mean and what this does mean. This does not mean that if we love God more and obey him better, that everything's going to get better immediately. Because this passage itself presupposes suffering as a reality that we all experience. What this simply means is that God is at work in the mess. And although we cannot see all the little things that God is bringing together to fix things, and all the little things that God is bringing together right now to do his will, his purposes, although we can't see it, will be accomplished. And this is what we hope to be able to bring to you and to present to you throughout this series called Change of Plans. We want to be able to bring in front of you the continual story of a God who continually enters into creation with his people. And he operates within the difficulty, within the pain, within the circumstances, and within the suffering. He works within the changed plans in order to change them for his good and for his glory and for the salvation of his creation. So we hope that you'll join us every week as we go throughout this series to learn more about this. And we both hope that you'll be encouraged through this and that maybe we can learn some things about what God's done in the past that we can apply to our present and to our future. We need to know that God will accomplish his will in this world, and we need to be on board for him doing that. So we love you again. We are praying for you always, and we really can't hope to see you. We can't wait to see you again, and we hope for that, and we continually pray for that day to come. We love you. Thank you. Goodbye.